TriStar, you're more than just ambulances.
Yeah. It's our core business, ambulances. We do have a full lineup of ambulances, but we also build related and unrelated emergency vehicles. So we build emergency support system logistical vehicles. We are in the light and medium duty fire rescue industry. We build mobile command vehicles, disaster response trailers, supervisor units. Over the years, it's been the reason we have this wide range of products and emergency products. I mean, they're all somewhat related. It's first responder, emergency, it's national defense, but because we're open to new design and flexible design.
So how long have you been here?
20 years. This past November, I was at Dalhousie, finished up my MBA there, and was hired by the former owner of the company, Keith Condon. I was brought in as an assistant to him, but it quickly became a role that was very involved on the sales and account management, relationship management side of things.
Looking here at the map, the TriStar map, we've got dots, which are history markets that you've worked in, and flags. What do the flags represent?
Well, in fact, this represents our headquarters in Yarmouth, where our manufacturing facility is. These other smaller flags are where we have stronger partners, where we've established longer term, where we have offices. And
so a longer term relationship.
Exactly. And then the smaller ones are areas of countries where we've sold product.
What are we looking at here?
So this is just a layout of various metal parts that we're going to send over to our metal fabrication shop, and this is a file that'll dictate what the CNC router will cut out for us.
And those are all different components for inside the box or for the box itself?
Yeah, these vary. So, you have different types of shelving here. This is a different, so what we call a communication panel that goes in the electrical compartment. We mount various pieces to that.
What is actually happening here right now?
Right now, it's cutting out our door panels. It's cutting out our the different accessories that we'll need to populate the inner part of a door. So we use up as much of the sheet as we can. These here are parts to panel covers. That do latch hole. This right here.
Oh yeah.
That's where your door latch is going to be.
Okay.
Later on, when it's actually, this here is going to be your window.
In the door?
Yeah, window in the door. So most of these here are going to be
So you go into the window and cut a whole bunch of pieces out of the window.
We use as much of the sheet as possible.
What are we doing here?
So this right here is the life cycle of what something comes off the router. So we'll come over here, we'll have one of our processors, they'll process it, they'll bend it, and then you see here from our blueprint from our engineering department to rough material coming off the router. After it's bent and welded, it becomes a three-dimensional object that you can hold in your hand, place into an ambulance, and later on, this is going to be something that's going to be into a heated cabinet.
Well, this is just a wire harness. This one is specifically for the left wall of a mini rescue that we're building. So anywhere you see a T-joint
It's a measurement.
is a measurement specific. So we'll say that this one that you're at here is 0. That's going straight to the panel.
Okay.
And then from this side, we're going that direction, down one side of the vehicle, and then this one down the other. I did electrical before this job, but this is basically just electrical prefab. So what I'm doing is I'm creating electrical pieces that are going to go inside the vehicle. It's like setting the lights. So all the lights that go on the vehicle have to be set. Each one of them has to be touched to electricity to get its specific flash or whatever pattern we want that light to be. But as opposed to that, there's no electrical over here. So you'll see over on this shelf here, we have all of the different trucks that we've done before.
Oh, so is this stuff over top the loom?
That is the loom, yep. We'll put a plastic coating over top of it to keep it all safe and collect it all into one thing. So that when you run it through the vehicle, it's not fraying or all over the place.
What are we looking at here?
We're looking at the electrical panel. Well, we call this the main distribution panel. It has all the electrical systems that is kind of the brain of the ambulance. It has the electrical systems that control all the electrics. So this is what we call the main distribution panel. Another, the electrical compartment is, we consider this the brain of the ambulance. Like this is, these were computer nodes or multiplexing. Years ago, the control system for an ambulance is just breakers and relays. A lot of wire, a lot of complex connections. To simplify things, we go with these computer nodes that we program so that when the paramedic either in the cab driving or in the back wants something to happen, like turn the emergency lights on or the siren or the suction unit, it goes through this system and then it'll activate the component. We call this the communication panel. So on this you'd have, the radio chassis. This is a pretty neat device. It's an RFID device. The expensive assets, like the stretcher, defibrillator, things like that inside the ambulance, they have an RFID tag. And we have antenna in this truck. So if the paramedics say on a scene, you know how hectic things can get, they might leave something like a defibrillator behind.
You don't leave a defibrillator
Well, no,
behind.
it's really expensive. And it could be other types of gear. But if they were to drive away, this will know that the vehicle is so many feet or yards or meters from the device, and on the screen in the cab, it'll come up and say, you left a defibrillator back there.
Right here in Yarmouth, you build all of the ambulances for the province of Nova Scotia?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. It started, we were building ambulances for private and community operators when it was more of a fractured system back in the 80s and 90s. Mid 1990s, 1997, Nova Scotia amalgamated, became a single service provider run by the government, and that's when we formed our initial partnership, and we've been a trusted supplier of ambulances since then. For over 25 years, we've been building the ambulances and their support vehicles as well. Currently, they run a fleet of 150 ambulances in Nova Scotia, but also have 35 support vehicles. A fleet like Nova Scotia, which is a very high performance system, it employs 1,000 paramedics in the province, and it's a very high-end, high-performance system. They require a lot of support in their fleet, from equipment vehicles from their ambulances, being able to service those ambulances, but also the support vehicles that go along with those. And TriStar is that one-stop shop.
This is the second shop for metal, and what we see right here, this one big jig wall, this is what we use to build all of our ambulances. So you got us
all the boxes.
All the boxes.
They start on this wall.
They start right here from. Think about a house. How a house starts with stick framing, right?
Yeah.
But we don't use wood. We use aluminum, right? So everything will go up onto this wall, and all these little painted squares up on this jig will be where one of these fixtures will go, and we'll go and we'll clamp in our tubes into the fixtures, and then this is where we weld up all of our frames. So it starts its life cycle up onto our jig wall. Once it's all done up into its individual parts, we'll go and we'll assemble it onto the floor, and the floor itself is also starts on the jig itself. We assemble it here, put everything on. The last thing we put on will be this roof we put up on top, and this is what squares the box. It squares with the floor and with the roof. Once all these pieces are put together onto the structure here, then they'll start the process of putting the skins on. And the skins, funny enough, we'll put on with two-way tape. Once that sheet is stuck on there, we will destroy the aluminum before that tape lets go.
Okay, so you could basically tape them together, but
Yep.
you weld them
Yeah.
together.
Every time you do a weld, you distort the material, right? So you don't want the sides of your box with looks like little rivets all the way
down.
down. Yeah. So this gives that effect.
A nice smooth
Nice,
finish.
smooth, beautiful finish. Yeah.
Looks like you're in pretty much every continent of the world.
Well, we have been. This is a map of our history. Largely, we started exporting in 1979.
Okay.
We were invited to a trade fair in Baghdad, in Iraq, and we partnered with GM Canada at the time to show off some vehicles of theirs and ours with light conversion, some van ambulances and the like. And kind of built from there. The former owner and was more of a trendsetter for TriStar and building the brand. He was flying into Iraq on a semi-regular basis, maybe monthly, and noted on his way home that there's all kinds of countries underneath him that he was flying over that probably needed ambulances and emergency vehicles too. So he started to drop out of the sky on these trips on the way home. And this is why you see this kind of pattern, this kind of shotgun pattern of places where he's sold product in the past. So to date, we've sold ambulances and built relationships with partners and customers in 45 countries.
So, Rashid, we're here in cabinets.
I will show you different cabinet that just finished.
How long have you been doing this kind of work?
5 years,
5
exactly,
years.
yes.
Yeah, how do you like working here with these?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. Well, first of all, the people are very nice. Like my boss is excellent person to work with.
Yeah.
Yes. After that, the company.
Yeah.
The company gives more opportunity to people they want to work.
Yeah.
Yes. Anything you want to learn here. If I ask, I want to go to welding shop to
learn welding.
Yeah, they said, yeah, you're welcome. You can do that.
So you're welcome. You can go learn things.
Anywhere, any department you want to try, you're very welcome to have that opportunity to learn anything you want with this company.
A few years ago, we decided we wanted to grow the company to some degree, and one area I investigated and did a little research on was some of the smaller fire apparatus, because a lot of the not so much customers, but a lot of the manufacturing process that goes into an ambulance is mirrored in a small fire apparatus, like a small rescue or a mini pumper. And this is what we would call a walk-in rescue.
This looks like a mobile fire station on wheels. I can see that the breathing apparatus is here, the boots, the helmets, the coats, pants. It's almost like you could step out of here and if there was water, you walk right into a
That's right.
situation.
It complements the other equipment like the pumpers and whatnot. So this would go to every scene. So when the fire department gets a call, this would go, and it has, like you say, the gear that the individual firefighters would use, plus some, maybe some creature comforts for them as well. A little rehab. So if they're out doing their job and they're fighting a fire, they need some water or coffee, they can come in here and do that as well.
And refresh.
Yeah, refresh. But obviously they have their SCBA packs and their boots and all that.
All ready to go.
All ready to go for their personal use, right? Like I said, we've been doing this for about 5 years, and it's been quite successful. It's a nice product line for us.
And the third stage will be over here. This is after it's skinned. We'll put all the components to the box inside. Inside here, this is where we put our compartments in. The compartments go in these holes here, so that's like when you see the inside of a box, you'll see where the saddlebags or their oxygen tanks or their spine boards, anything that need quick access to. And then we finalize any welding that goes up, because you'll see up here in the superstructures, we have our welding patterns up top. So even though tape holds the skin on, weld holds all facets of the box together. Nice thick armored floor. We run our seam seal over top of it, so that way it's waterproof. And then from here, it says goodbye to us over to the paint department.
I am the lead hand for TriStar's paint shop, which includes being the painter for TriStar. So I get to make the boxes look all nice and shiny. Our paint provider is Exalto Coatings. The green that you see on our boxes is a very highly recommended epoxy coating, which prevents corrosion from starting and taking place and then basically eating away at your aluminum bodies.
So how long does it take you to paint one of these things?
Roughly, for coating wise, 45 minutes to an hour on a good day for one coat.
And then eventually it turns out white, right?
Yes, sir.
So they're white, and then the decals add all the color?
Yes, sir.
So for 30 years, out of Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, you have been manufacturing these innovative vehicles and delivering them to the world.
Yeah.
So what's it like knowing that you're saving lives all over the world?
Yeah, I guess it means more now as I get older and I start understanding, what. I think when you start this, you think sort of within, I'm doing this for me, I'm doing this for the staff. Mm-hmm. But now I see how important what we're doing is for the customers. Because if for some reason we stopped supplying our customers today, especially in this time where it's it's harder to get services. It's harder, staffing is harder. If we stop supplying ambulances, some of our customers would be struggling for a little bit to find other suppliers.
Yeah, and then the people that they serve their lives would be endangered.
Because they'd be operating on pretty old ambulances.
Yeah.
Ambulances that should be out of service.
We got our ColorNet computer mixing system, which gives us the right ratios so that every one of our mixes are correct and ready for application. So the computer does all the smart work for us and we do all the manual labor. So before we get pouring from here, we usually turn on our mixing table, which allows everything to stir up. Every can that you see here has a mixing lid to it, and it's going to start stirring every one of those cans.
Oh, wow.
So what happens there is
wow.
I'm mixing probably 20 cans at a time right there. So it saves us from opening up the can, mixing it all individually. So we're going to go ahead and grab some binder. So right now it's basically telling me on my screen that I need 5.1 grams of our binder. So yeah, you want to be very spot on with your color mixes. So there you can see I went over 0.1 of a gram there. So the computer program itself is super friendly in those cases because when you go over, you can actually hit your next ingredient. It's going to come up and say your mix is at a tolerance. So then I'm going to say reformulate the mix. And when I do that, it's going to rectify everything so that my mix is going to be the same at the end of the mix no matter what. There, then we're going to bring our mix over here and then we're actually going to stir it up, filter it out, just like so.
That's ready to spray.
Well, generally what we talk about is we have lots of vendors and suppliers that we work with and we've built up relationships with over the years. When we're talking about GM and Ford, obviously they're a very large part of an ambulance or an emergency vehicle conversion. They're a big part of that.
Do they still have a warranty with GM?
They do, yeah. We maintain the warranty. Yeah, that would obviously be an important aspect of that ambulance is that it's the warranty of the vehicle is still maintained. So
how do you get that with the companies?
Well, Ford has a qualified vehicle modifier program that we've been a part of since 1994. It controls the quality. It allows us to modify. We're a final stage manufacturer, which means we're a vehicle builder.
Okay.
And we have these arrangements with Ford that allows us to convert their vehicle. Mm-hmm. They have certain ways that there's certain things we can and can't do with that vehicle that in order to maintain the warranty of the vehicle. But that's how we do it.
Basically, just a pretty straightforward process.
Pull
Peel
it
off
off.
the backing, you hinge it at the top so you obviously keep it straight as you're working.
Oh, I wouldn't have thought of that. How did you get doing this?
Well, I started off as clean and seal, and I kind of worked my way up, and they were changing positions around, and they gave me the opportunity
To become the graphics
to
person.
become the graphics person.
What are we sitting in? Is this a new ambulance? It doesn't look new.
No, as you can see, different glue and things like that. This here's a remount. A remount in short. We build an ambulance, okay? The ambulance is all built and it goes out on the road for Newfoundland or Nova Scotia, depending on who's using it. It gets on the road for 4 years. After 4 years, or roughly 400,000 kilometers, that's the end of the lease that TriStar has with the ambulance company. So when it comes back to us after that time period, we have to strip this all down. Like all these cabinets come out, we peel the floor up. If you look here, where all these spots are, you're actually going to drill down and break the bolts off so you can actually take this whole box right off the chassis. Once that's done, all these cabinets are refurbished, cleaned up, anything that needs to be replaced or fixed to get it as best looking as we can. We do all that. Everything is done. The box is completely sanded down and repainted and made to look brand new again. And everything is, as this one is right now, it's sat back on a whole brand new chassis and given a second life, let's say, so that it can go back out on the road and help save people.
This is a guard for a moose, because they had hit a moose with this one, so that's why this is like a remount type of thing because of the moose situation.
All right.
And so we're going to mount a new guard back on the front of it. They won't drop it. Yeah.
The strongest guys are busy. That's awesome.
Okay, now you can see, you can just hand tighten it.
Okay.
Because we can't put it on permanently now anyway, because we've got to adjust a few things onto it, so there's not a lot to it.
I am a final inspector.
So what does the final inspector do?
Once the vehicle, the EHS or whatever unit we're working on is totally done, then it comes to my bay, and then I go over it, make sure everything's done to spec, make sure like there's no technical issues, check out all the electronics devices, test the lights. And then once I do all the paperwork part, then I do a road test on it to make sure everything is functional, make sure the steering's good, the brakes, make sure there's no rattles, no noise, no issues.
Some of the awards that you're seeing there are Export Achievement Awards. We've received 10 or 11 Export Achievement Awards in our history. And some of this memorabilia, like the image of the G7 summit in 1995.
The waterfront in Halifax?
That's right, yeah. We were, we supplied ambulances for that summit. Daybrooke had a requirement for I'm not sure the number of the ambulances, but in short order to build some ambulances for that. And that actually catapulted us into that relationship and that amalgamated service and working with the government directly on supplying all of their ambulances.
Oh,
from
wow.
there. They became the first few ambulances in the first contract with Nova Scotia.
And there's daggers. What do daggers and ambulances have to do with each other?
Just the country that we're selling them in. So this is memorabilia from countries that we've sold product to and visited.
It must have been quite an honor to get some of these things, I can imagine.
Yeah, it was. It just showed that the governments appreciated the work we did for them, the products that we delivered, and it really was an honor to receive some of these awards.
Yeah, it's kind of magical.